Good morning and welcome to this session of Business Breeders, a live webinar series hosted by Goodman Group at Brock University. My name is Abdul Wahimi and it's my pleasure to serve as the director of Goodman Group in the Goodman School of Business. Goodman Group is a community-focused learning and development services provider that works to support professionals, businesses, and entrepreneurs pursuing growth through accredited professional development certificate programs, executive education, consulting services, and startup support. It is my pleasure to welcome you, our audience, to today's session. Over 150 of you joining us as part of today's session, taking your break, catching your breath, and being part of this webinar. This webinar series aims to provide 45-minute breathers filled with insightful discussions on timely topics that are relevant to businesses and everyday lives, led by our award-winning faculty here from Brock University and supplemented by leading innovative industry experts who are encouraging thoughtful debates and keeping us all connected together. This webinar series is hosted, as you know, on Wednesdays from 11 to 11:45. I say as you know because we've been running for a few months now, and we've got quite a number of regulars on our chat here today. In a moment, I will hand the screen over to today's webinar lead, that's Dr. Shawna Chen, who will lead today's discussion on the topic of entrepreneurial leadership. I'm quite excited to hear what she has to say on this topic. Dr. Chan will speak for about 30 minutes and we'll spend some time answering your questions at the end. So please feel free to post your questions in the chat feature, which is open now. We have also received a number of questions at the time of registration. You may also live tweet your questions and comments using @GSB Goodman Group, all one word. At the end of webinar, I'll provide details on how you can access today's webinar recording as well. Now, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce today's webinar lead, Dr. Shawna Chen, who is an Associate Professor of Entrepreneurship at the Goodman School of Business. Prior to entering academia, Shawna was a serial entrepreneur, in particular, a serial tech entrepreneur and an investment banker. Quite a background there, Shawna. Her research focuses on bridging the intention-action gap in entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial action for disruptive innovation. Her work is funded by Social Sciences and Human Research Council, one of the most highly regarded agencies in this area. And she has published in high-impact journals and authored several books and many chapters in this. Shawna was a recipient of the Goodman School of Business Emerging Scholar of the Year recently. Shawna, welcome, and over to you.
Thank you, Abdul. Well, before we begin, I have a confession to make. For years, I've been telling students that being entrepreneurial is important because employers are recruiting for those skills, such as adaptivity, creativity, problem solving, critical thinking, and innovation, all of which possessed by entrepreneurs. And because innovation is an essential capability for any organization today. But it didn't dawn on me that you may already know neural is important. It's just not that easy to switch from execution to innovation, from climbing the corporate ladder to solving problems as innovators now. I want to assure you that making this switch wasn't easy for me. You know me as a professor at Brock. You heard that I co-founded tech startups. You probably know that I was an investment banker. I know that I have also been a nurse and a yoga teacher. And just a job hopper. I was a professional pivoter. It all began back in 2001 when I did not want to be a nurse anymore, and I joined my very first tech startup to serve new immigrants to the US. On September 11 of that very same year, witnessed an airplane crash into the Pentagon on my way to work. February 11 terrorist attack. In our startup, the attack forever changed U.S. immigration, so we had to abandon nearly a year of work and pivot away. But it may even be more difficult for you. You see, for the past 300 years, business education and trainings were designed to provide executives to run and grow existing organizations. These tools such as accounting, finance, human resources, marketing, strategy are extremely important in executing playbooks. But I have to say, they are insufficient in innovating new paradigms. Through my own experience and through my years of research on more than 400 entrepreneurs, I concluded that individuals can reimagine yourself to become entrepreneurial leaders, and organizations should promote or hire entrepreneurial leaders to survive and thrive through crises. Let me tell you a story. August 1929, almost a century ago, the most devastating economic downturn started in the US and quickly spread around the world. Great Depression. It was the longest, deepest, and most widespread economic crisis of 20th century. For 3 years, 30% of workforce was unemployed. Production was down 40%, and trade was reduced by 50% in almost every single country in the world. Packaged cereal was still a new market back in 1929. Consider this cold choice a real alternative to warm oatmeal. When unemployment skyrocketed and consumer spending floored, no one knew what would happen to demand on packaged cereal. Well, let me ask you, what would you have done if you were working for one of the major players, such as Kellogg's or Post? Would you go with the predictable action, census and laying off employees, or would you opt for the unthinkable, capturing new growth opportunities? And Post took distinctly different routes. Did what any sensible business would do. They took a step back and focused on the cash cows. Kellogg's, on the other hand, aggressively invested in the prepackaged cereal and doubled its budget for advertising. By 1933, Kellogg's was experiencing a nearly 30% increase in overall profits. Their strategy not only moved prepackaged breakfast cereal from a niche market to the mainstream, it cemented the company's position as the leader in the market. It was not any easier for Kellogg's than for Post to innovate, to venture the unknown. But how they responded with actions widened the gaps between the two. So history suggests that companies invest in innovation through a crisis will outperform peers during recovery by 30%. Because crises take a significant toll on financial and human capital that disrupt existing competitive dynamics. Consequently, new products, service, and business model can emerge. For example, e-commerce in Asia flourished after 2002 SARS epidemic. Today, Alibaba is one of the world's largest companies. Another example, sharing economy, rose out of the 2009 global financial crisis, breeding tech unicorns such as Airbnb and Uber. Crises not only present us unique problems to solve, but also unique conditions to think and move more freely, allowing rapid and impactful changes. For today, August 12th, it has been 5 months since World Health Organization announced the COVID-19 pandemic. We have seen how it changed nearly every single aspect of our personal and professional lives. How has your life changed? How have the lives of people around you changed? %93. The vast majority of the world's workforce still face certain level of workplace closures and restrictions. In Canada, 70% of the workforce was affected. In Canadians, job, while another 15% were temporarily absent from work. 30% Canadian, lucky ones who do not normally work from home, have been working like myself. Companies also quickly realized that pandemic has changed how they interact with customers, how customers purchase products and services, and how supply chain deliver them. 9 out of 10 executives believe that COVID-19 crisis will fundamentally change the way they do business over the next 5 years. These executives also agree that changes would create significant new opportunities for growth in many industries such as technology, communication, retail, healthcare, and financial services. However, being able to see the opportunities emerge from crises is different from being able to seize them. %21%. In fact, only 21% of those executives are confident that they have the expertise, resources, and commitment to pursue new growth successfully. So what have they done instead? So far, executives largely focus on maintaining business continuity, especially in their core businesses. Not surprisingly, executives put cutting costs, driving productivities, and implementing safe features before supporting innovative-led growth. So what can we do to change that? The answer is entrepreneurial leadership. Research suggests that in a stable environment, leadership is about making strategic decisions, assigning specific goals and tasks, and facilitating collaborations among departments or team members. However, in an uncertain environment, leadership are empowering followers, independent thoughts, allowing them to self-organize their behavior to emerge, setting goals and tasks together with your follower, and preparing people for whatever may come. Entrepreneurs are known to be masters in navigating through uncertainties. Unique combination of mindset and skills to quickly sense, act, and mobilize under uncertain conditions through influencing others to seize opportunities together. So in an uncertain time like this, real leaders are those organizations should look for. Do you look for an entrepreneurial leader? What are the distinguishing characteristics? Think, do, be. I summarize how entrepreneurial leaders are different from traditional leaders in 3 categories: the way they think, do, and be. Entrepreneurial leaders think with a growth mindset. People with a growth mindset believe that they can develop the ability through dedication, effort, and hard work. They see failure as an opportunity to learn from mistakes, to improve their performance. Despite setbacks, they tend to persevere rather than to give up. A growth mindset allows an entrepreneur to stay alert. Or not, entrepreneurs are always ready to create opportunities. They're inspired by others' success and failures. They learn a great deal from them. Market imperfection, societal issues, or simply everyday problems are places to recognize patterns and connect the dots between unrelated events. Many entrepreneurs also maintain an idea journal. Having an inventory of ideas makes it easier to let go when an idea is just not that great. In fact, few businesses become successful exactly as they were at the beginning. Did you know that YouTube was meant to be a video dating website back in 2005? The co-founders knew that the underlying technology can finally make it easy for people to upload videos to the internet. They thought, well, dating would be the obvious choice. So the co-founders posted an ad offering attractive women $100 to upload videos of themselves. They even had a slogan, tune in, hook up. But that didn't go anywhere. One day, the co-founders say, okay, forget about dating. Let's just open it up to any video. The rest was history. But seeing the inflection point is not the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge is what you do about them. Entrepreneur leaders do the hustle. Just any hustle. There's hunting for their prey. Entrepreneurs do not chase every single opportunity. Instead, they sustain energy by zeroing in on an idea only when the competitive arena is attractive and the opportunity is ripe. They then pursue the idea with enormous discipline. Entrepreneurs experiment. They don't plunge their resources and hope for the best. They set up experiments, the assumption, before even committing themselves and others. Entrepreneurs are agile. They not only adapt and react to changes in the environment, they also proactively take quick, unorthodox action to address immediate challenges and opportunities under uncertain conditions. Entrepreneurs pivot swiftly. They change direction when new information unveils as course of action evolve. And entrepreneurs are resilient. They continue after hardship and recover quickly from adversity. They persevere with passion. Deep down, they believe the work they are doing is meaningful. And most importantly, entrepreneurs effectuate. Different from executives, entrepreneurs do not start out with a concrete end goal and find the best way to achieve them. Instead, entrepreneurs start with their means, assessing who they are, whom they know, and what they know. They then consider what can they afford to lose. Instead of setting everything up to final judgment day and face potential catastrophic failure, entrepreneurs learn from mistakes every step of the way and act upon contingencies. And entrepreneurs do not do this alone. Collaborate, sometimes even with their arch enemies. They use these personal strengths and resources to build partnership with stakeholders, such as employees, customers, by obtaining pre-commitments from key partners early on. Entrepreneurs reduce uncertainty or create a new market. Entrepreneurs are mindful. They are very aware of their experience occurring in the present moment. They refrain from eliminating or changing the environment they observe. But they bring an attitude of curiosity, interest, and acceptance to the environment and new information. Mindfulness opens them up to the world of possibilities. That is why entrepreneurs are more likely to find new ways to structure problems and develop new perspectives. Okay, so entrepreneurs are different from us. So what? I think that sounds easy for you to say. How can I see around the corners when I simply struggle for survival, stay employed, or stay in business? Allow me to speak from my experience. Some of us will be better off stop doing what we're doing and reimagine ourselves. Some business will be better off stop operating business as usual. Away. Fortunately, the entrepreneurial mindset and skills I mentioned are not genetically determined characteristics. You can be an entrepreneurial leader in any endeavor you choose, anytime, anywhere. So sustain your energy and stop wasting your time and effort. I will show you how to unlearn resistance and relearn resilience to survive and thrive through crisis. You probably guessed it. There are only 3 simple strategies: think, do, and be. First, think with a growth mindset. Even if your mindset is a fixed one, it is possible to develop a growth mindset and build an appetite for innovation. People misunderstand that if you praise and reward efforts, it can lead to a growth mindset. Oh, you try very hard. No. If you praise unproductive efforts, it is easy to double down the efforts with the same ineffective strategies. Instead, it is critical to reward the learning process that results in a growth mindset, such as seeking help from others, new strategies, and capitalizing on setbacks to move forward effectively. And it is equally critical to recognize triggers for a fixed mindset. For example, when we face challenges, hear criticism, or perform poorly comparing to others, we easily fall into insecurity or defensiveness that prevent growth. Not just ourselves, the systems are also full of fixed mindset triggers. Schools and workplaces often reward competition and performance and stigmatize mistakes and failure, making it really hard for people to practice growth mindset behavior, such as sharing information, collaborating, failing, seeking feedback, or simply admitting errors. You can, however, manage those triggers and safeguard your inner entrepreneur. Try this next time instead. Instead of telling yourself that you're not good, tell yourself that you're not good enough yet. Jeff Bezos, Amazon's founder and CEO, wrote in his 2018 letters to shareholders that as a company grows, everything needs to scale, including the size of your failed experiments. If the size of your failure are not going to be inventing at a size that can actually move the needle. In other words, Jeff Bezos prepares shareholders for the company to fail at times, such as the Amazon Fire Phone, in order to keep coming up with something original. Second, do follow the entrepreneurial mind method with great discipline. You will begin by identifying the impact that you want to achieve. Are you achieving something greater than yourself? Is your organization creating meaningful value proposition to solve customers' problems or fulfilling their needs? To build a new product, new strategy, or anything radically new, you hardly do it alone. You need to inspire others and rally people around you. It is important to start with why. Begin with your impact statement. Steve Jobs, Apple's founder and past CEO, once said that he would look into the mirror every single day and ask himself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to spend it doing what I'm about to do? Oh, external expectations, fear of embarrassment or failure fall away in the face of death, leaving only what's truly important. Ask yourself, what is my why? Next, figure out your means at hand. A bird in hand is worth two in the bush. Perform an inventory check on your means at hand. Who am I? Do I know? Whom do I know? Answer these questions as they relate to your impact statement. The answers will help you understand your current resources, what you have available today that you can use for immediate action. Best. Sometimes your best may be very different from what you thought. And of course, leaving one's comfort zone is always perceived as risky. A risk is relative. What is considered high risk to one may be not so bad to others. Rather than calculating risk without taking action, what you are willing to lose. Are you willing to give up money, position, reputation, time, your emotion, or opportunity costs? By answering those questions, you take control, rather than allowing yourself to be controlled by risk or the fear of failure. Your action today. Many companies' attempt at pivots or innovation fail because they are too busy looking at industry trends, technology trends, consumer trends that they fail to connect with their core, their existing resources and capability, existing customers. Take a small step. First action is just a small step to get you going. Fantastic. You will not be judged by this small action because the purpose of this action today is to validate the assumption you just made so far and plan for contingent steps. No excuse here. You can do it. And don't forget to network. Share your idea. Enroll others on your journey. There's no leaders without at least one follower. Collaboration and co-creation rather than competition will increase your resource space, expand the possibilities available, and help you further validate your actions. Then you build on what you learned. Assess performance of your action. Then you persevere, patch, or pivot. Keep in mind that the method is not meant to be a step-by-step process, but a continuous loop. It is not about killing your new endeavors. It's about making them better. Expect and embrace setbacks and celebrate the learning. You only quit what you are about to do if you no longer have the desire inherent in your impact statement, or if you have exceeded your affordable loss. Third, be you. Be the best version of you. Reflect and be honest with yourself. It helps adapt to changing circumstances by thinking about alternative routes to take and choose one or more strategies based on these options. You may not realize, but taking the time out to reflect can be the most important skill for an entrepreneurial leader. Journaling and meditating can help you reflect on a regular basis. Ask yourself, if this were the last day of my life, will I do what I'm about to do after this seminar? I would not be at all surprised if you tune in today hoping that I will share with you my prediction of 10 side hustles to start making 6 figures now, or 20 business ideas to find success post-COVID. I hate to disappoint you, but that would not be your take-home message, because of those predictions that are actually in your wheelhouse. Even if you have the skills and resources to pursue some of the things, you're likely competing with a million others who read the same thing. Successful entrepreneurial leaders believe in predicting the future. Instead, they believe that if I can control my resources and action, I can see around the corner, and I do not predict the future. I would like this mantra be your take-home message. If I can control the future, I do not need to predict it. I encourage you to venture the path less taken. Be entrepreneurial. You will survive and thrive through any crisis. Before I hand the microphone back to Abdul, I have a shameless plug about an exciting new research project coming this October. Think, do, be. In a journaling app, I will guide you to reflect on ideas and business models to identify helpful thoughts and actions along the entrepreneur journey. Color. I was often the only woman and the only person of color in the white, male-dominated tech startup scene and the venture capital industry. I often felt left out, lack of mentorship and guidance. I wish there were an app like this when I was an entrepreneur. If you or your friend are launching a startup or growing a new business in North America, you may benefit from participating in this research study. If you would like to, or if you know someone who will be interested in participating, please join the waitlist on my website. And if you're interested in assessing your current mindset, or download a worksheet of the entrepreneurial method to guide you toward your goal, I'll post it on my website after this webinar. Let us help ourselves and our friends do and be entrepreneurial. Thank you. Now back to you, Abdul.
Shawna, that was insightful. Thank you very much. I picked quite a number of things in here, and I'm going to try and ask myself that question. If today were the last day of my life, what would I spend it doing? Such a great question to get your day off and started and focusing, zeroing in on the things that matter. And of course, one of the other things that Steve Jobs said as well is that when failure takes place, that means decisions have been taken. And hopefully, then that leads to lessons learned and improvements thereafter. Failure or fail is an acronym, and that's first attempt in learning, as I have been told once by someone that worked close with me. So, so many questions. Thank you for that. Let me get right to them as I switch to my other screen. How do you promote an entrepreneurial spirit amongst your team during a crisis? Shawna?
Mm-hmm. So I would like to prescribe, again, 3 strategies, my favorite. And I called it I am. You will inspire, align, and measure. So you have to inspire your team. Get them along on your mission and vision. Be very clear about them. Then you will align your team that it's not simply about diversity in the team, but more about to mix a balance of thinking, convergent and divergent thinking, the fast, slow thinking, analytical and creative thinking. You will align those team members together. Keep the size small, though. You don't need to have majority vote. It's not an election. But have a team that can act agilely. Like you said, failure. If you face failure, it's important to learn from it. How do you do that? You will have to measure. But I will highly recommend you not measuring your performance. What you need to measure is the learning outcome. So instead of giving your member task, and then you see how well they do, you will give them challenges. Ask them, so what do you think? What are your assumptions and hypotheses of why such thing happened? And then ask them to go out and test those hypotheses. And there will be some are supported, some are not. And it's important to push now. push and ask them, why do you think some are not supported? What can we learn from it? What else can we do? Do they really look for those feedback from you and others? And those are the important measure rather than simply performance.
Great, thank you. Here's another one. With COVID-19, have you started to see any companies that have started to successfully pivot?
Mm-hmm. There are quite a few.
I thought so.
Yeah. So
Amazon comes to mind right off the bat. Amazon, they've grown astronomically. Anyway.
Yes, but they grow. I don't really think they pivot. Pivot really that you change some fundamental aspect of business. So some smaller pivot, what I say like temporary shift. For example, Dylan's, did very well by complying with the government regulation and start manufacturing hand sanitizers. The hand sanitizer was in such a high demand at the beginning. I think the wait list, the inventory backlog was about like 5 months. But that is a small temporary shift. It could be something more drastic. I don't know how successful it is, or have you heard of a company called O2? They sell kind of like a smart water at gym. Our gyms are all closed, especially it wasn't even open not until very recently. So they lost large some amount of their revenue because the gyms are all closed and that's their main outlet. So instead of saving themselves just selling online through retail, they partner with gyms. They say, we used to get however much from you. Now I'm going to split that profit with you. They're helping the gym to survive. They ask the gym in return, give the code, a coupon code to your customer. Ask them to purchase our product online and I'll split that profit with you. And their profit actually was doubled since the pandemic. It was quite impressive. And another one, I would say, Eastman Kodak. Right. That one will be, we have to wait to see how that turned out to be. So Eastman Kodak was known to be a film company, a camera company. But no one used the real camera with film anymore, very few that I know of. So what could they do? All of a sudden they announced that we're going to be a chemical company and produce pharmaceutical product. Well, that came as a shock, wasn't it? But think about that. To manufacture film, you need chemical. They know chemical.
Right.
Make drug, you need chemical. Same thing. Can they succeed? Know that Fujifilm was very successful in that pivot. Fujifilm already made that pivot 10 years ago. Film's revenue, probably 40% come from chemical, healthcare-related chemicals. So Fujifilm made it. We'll see if Eastman Kodak can do it as well.
Fingers crossed for them. Shawna, thank you so very much. That's all that we have time for. Time flew by this morning. Many more questions are there. My apologies for not getting to them as we're running out of time in here. I want to thank you again, Shawna, for taking the time to be here with us and to share your insights in this very important topic and timely, of course, as well.
Thank you.
Well, that's all. Thank you. Well, that's all time that we have for today's Business Breeders session. Thank you to our audience for joining us today. In the coming days, you will be receiving an email from us with links to the recording and material covered here today. So keep an eye on your inbox for that to come in. The Goodman Group Professional Development Unit would like to know that the nonprofit leadership program remains open. Seats are limited. We have a small number of seats at this point remaining. These are all virtual seats. We have limited the number of seats available to maintain the very high quality that we have. We frequently receive well over 90% satisfaction rate for this program. And to maintain that, we are going to limit how many folks could sit through the program at one cohort on these virtual seats. And there are only a limited number left. So I encourage you to sign up for those if you are interested by visiting our website, and that's brocu.ca/Goodman Group, or emailing us at prodev, PRODEV, at brocu.ca. Our next webinar will take place next Wednesday, and that's 11 to 11:45, again on the topic of who we are and who we can be. An important strategic reflection in times of disruption, which is led by Goodman Group's professor, and that is Dr. Asma Zafar, who will be here speaking to all of us through this important topic. Until then, I hope you will stay safe, and I hope to see many of you next time. Have a good one, folks.